Hey, welcome back to the Tranquilli-Tease. I'm your host, Marina Mars, and today we are discussing the ooey, gooey, icky, sticky topic of finding our why in both life and in art. Whether we're tuned into it or not, we all have reasons for the things that we do, and whether or not we decide to explore that is completely up to us. I personally believe that the more clarity that you find in life, the easier it becomes to do everything that seemed nearly impossible before. Now, if you're anything like me, which I get the sneaking suspicion that you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here right now, you like challenges, right? You like being able to check things off of your list and dream up even more delicious things to move into after we accomplish those dreams, right? Getting deep into why we do what we do is absolutely crucial for self-advancement because, as you'll find, you have a hell of a lot more answers inside of you than you think. Now, before we dive in, please be sure to click the subscribe button if you are on YouTube, followed by the little bell for notifications every time I post new content, or click follow on any of the podcast streaming apps to ensure that you get all the content you need when you need it. So there are no formulas or academic points of any kind to be made here. I think the most helpful thing I can do for you today is tell you how I got from point A to B, and in finding out my why specifically. The moment I really started leaning into it was the moment my career really started to take off, in my eyes at least. So in burlesque world, we all have taglines, and they go with our stage names. So when I'm introduced to the stage, the MC would say, she's Aphrodite's marvelous mistress, she's Marina Mars. And then I would pop up onto the stage. And the reason I love these so much is that we can tie together a few powerful words to really send a message to the audience very efficiently. We give you the frame in which our art is best for viewing. That's super cool, right? This forces all of us who practice the art of burlesque to at least be a little bit self-aware about our purpose and our messaging. Furthermore, we also have intros, right? So when I'm called to the stage, there's a little bit more to it. It's love, beauty, and pleasure are the three things this performer builds her empire upon. From Las Vegas, she's Aphrodite's marvelous mistress. She's Marina Mars. I'm a big fan of three monumental words to define a brand. Triangles are awesome. Shout out to triangles. I strongly recommend playing around with what your intro or tagline would be, right? So let's pretend that your brand or your dream is a burlesque dancer. And you need to present this product, this dream, this brand, this business to an investor or a mentor, or maybe you're applying for a really badass gig. So doing this exercise is very self-affirming and hella empowering. It kind of acts as a compass for the rest of your journey, which is pretty dope. Because the clearer the mission statements are, the easier it is to see what kind of gigs and clients are best suited for you and your goals. Once you've aligned yourself with the hungriest of clients who only have a taste for what you are specifically offering, abundance will just pour into your life. So how do we align? How do we know when it's right? Don't some people waste years being on a less aligned path and maybe they don't even know about it? Well, here's my story. Then I'll dive into my why. So I basically had to submit myself to the process of fully letting go of my ego while trying on a bunch of new ideas and personas and messages over the years. When I arrived into the right one, I just fucking knew it. It felt so good out of nowhere. It was like one day I woke up feeling like a little bit of a novice, a little unsure of where I was going. And then the next day, I fucking knew it. It came out of left field, and it happened while I was living here in Las Vegas. I started performing back in November 2015. I moved to Las Vegas in January of 2018. So we're talking about 2-year span from when I started to when I moved here. And I'd like to pause here for a moment and point out the fact that I didn't know shit about anything when I started. I just started. just started performing, just got on stage. I didn't even really plan it. It was like a really ridiculous blizzarding evening was the first time I got on a stage, and no one else was there. Like the queens couldn't even show up at this gay bar. So like I just got on stage and they played a song. They played Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams, I think. I digress. It was a hot mess. But basically sometimes life just introduces you to a weird new activity out of nowhere, right? And you don't know why, but you can't stop thinking about it. So you start going to classes or meetings, whatever the field is, you fill in the specific details here. But, you know, you just, something about it, you get addicted, you go to these classes, all of a sudden you're there multiple days a week. At some point, maybe you randomly, you know, became employed or gained in a position of leadership simply by existing in this space and really submerging yourself in it. Or maybe you won an award or got mentioned in the news. Whatever the details, if you're like me, you got hooked. And my specific hook was pole and burlesque. I was searching for a safe space at the time, and I just really wanted a reason to be able to work on feeling a little sexier without shame specifically. I was 19 when I started, and I just wanted to take over the goddamn world. I was hungry, and it was the only thing that satisfied my cravings for a wild life. I had no fucking idea that it'd lead me to where I am today. At the time, the purpose was just for myself. But then I started performing, right? And I developed a strong student and community base. I was also physically and mentally pretty unwell. I was attending university as a full-time student. I was working full-time. With hindsight, I'm not even sure what that part of my life was about other than absolute chaos, and I was just super sick of it. So a major life event happened to me in January of 2018, and I took advantage of that moment, and I moved right over to Las Vegas. I left Madison, Wisconsin, and I spent the first year here not really performing that much. I was withdrawn, and I was trying to take care of myself. And ironic, I know, Vegas being a place of peace and quiet that I needed, but actually the local life here it's very different than what you would think it would be. It truly is paradise to me, but I digress. Back to the point. I spent the year in isolation, and then this was kind of when I started committing myself to love, beauty, and pleasure. So the first time I put love, beauty, and pleasure together and cemented it into my intro the way I have it now, that day it just felt like I was sliding on the best fitting glove I've ever put on in my entire life. I never wanted to change or focus on anything else, so down the rabbit hole I went. After that year of mostly solitude, I started performing again and touring the U.S. with my burlesque acts. I won medals and awards for my work. I performed at the Burlesque Hall of Fame, and I woke up. I don't know how else to describe it, but ideas just started flooding my brain, and I just felt like I didn't have time for anything that was going to decrease the stability of my vision and alignment with this purpose. The moments I felt off kilter, I walked away from anything that didn't feel like it was going the same place that I was. Shortly after I made that commitment to myself, this podcast was born. And most recently, I just got an absolute dream job. I'm a showgirl on the Las Vegas Strip. And for those of you who don't know, showgirls are a Vegas tradition dating back to the 1920s. And we're street performers and we're models, and we walk up and down the strip. We give compliments and we give information to our lovely visitors. We take photos of people for donations, and we give people the unforgettable, impossible to replicate Las Vegas experience. All while smiling and balancing an art installation on our heads and wearing pasties and corsets and booty bottoms and high heels. It is challenging and extraordinarily it is a dream come true, and it's exactly where I need to be. And that's just it, right? I don't always know how I'm going to get to the next step, But I know that I can trust my intuition because now I've spent years developing a relationship with it through daily yoga practices and meditations. I've also noticed over the years that the people I need to meet in order to get to the next level only appeared when I was ready for them. The old saying, like, the master will only appear when you're ready. It's true. It's so true. So don't wait around for something or someone to motivate you, or else those opportunities are just going to pass right by you and you won't even see them. You can't get mad about good things never happening to you if you just sit on the sidelines. Look, I listed off a lot of positive things that have happened in my life, but I haven't really mentioned the fact that I've received so many other rejections and heartbreaks along the way. I wouldn't say to you that, you need to experience the bad in order to know the good, because in my eyes, it's a very mentally unhealthy way to, attach positive value to trauma. However, those heartbreaks only hurt at the time. They don't hurt anymore when I look back, because not only have I healed from them, but at the time I thought they had potential, but now I know that they don't. They no longer hold that value or that power over my heart. I kept elevating myself and challenging myself instead of taking those less ideal gigs. And when I would receive any feedback with my rejection, honestly, it kind of felt like I was collecting more information for my roadmap to finding and fulfilling my purpose rather than, like a put down or a let down or like you're not good enough. It was more of like, oh, hey, I don't think that, this is what you're looking for, but go over there. Maybe that's what you're looking for. That's what it felt like instead. Those experiences were just as valuable to me as the ones that I'm creating now while I'm living the Vegas showgirl dream. Also worth pointing out is that this is not a linear process. So what I'm doing right now is right for me right now. I'm still only 25 years old, y'all. Who knows what 40 will even look like? It's the same thing with you and your why. Your whys may be more of like a lily pad that helps you get from one point to the next. But they have to change or else you'll go nowhere fast, which leads me to my why. I told you my story, but here's my why. On the very first episode of this podcast called Welcome to My Glitter Den, I did give you some backstory and I explained why I'm doing this podcast. I mentioned that love, beauty, and pleasure are my 3 pillars, and they are the key to unlocking the flow state and all of the art that exists within me. I also mentioned about how that was the key to helping me heal my panic disorder. So check that out if you'd like some more inspiration and information. But for right now, I'm going to go even wider into this because the podcast is only one aspect of what I do. So that episode, just laid out the why for that. But what I'm about to explain to you is a little bit more of everything else. So when I look at everything that I do, performing, producing, writing, speaking, modeling, this podcast, it all falls under my business umbrella that I call Marina, which for those of you who don't know, Marina is my stage name. My legal name is equally as dope, but super not relevant here. So the purpose of a business in general is to help others get rid of a particular pain point in life. Full stop. How cool is that statement, right? When my business coach told me that, I was still a nihilist at the time, and I was just trying to learn how to make money on my own. I wasn't really trying to change the world yet, but when I started to shift my perspective here in order to grow my business, it ended up feeling like an awesome shortcut to finding my life's purpose too, because the prompt is already in the name. Like, how can I best serve others in order to alleviate a pain point that only my special perspective can heal? Isn't that question way better than, hey, why are you doing that? So from where I'm standing, I have plenty of skills. I have a college education. I have a lot of real life work experience in the corporate world. But I'm also sensitive and testy, and I don't like being told what to do or what to wear. One of my former bosses, who ended up actually becoming one of my best friends, told me one day, she's like, you're the example I use when I'm training new managers, because when I'm trying to explain managing difficult people, you're the best example. You're always one of my best employees, but that doesn't make you easy. That's me. I'm very difficult to manage. I ask way too many questions, and I'm always looking to update processes. Nothing can ever be good enough. I am exhausting, I will admit that. I leave my fingerprints everywhere I go. I'm like an action-packed, fun vacation, that's super fun at the time, but then when you come home, you sleep for 4 days because you're kind of exhausted. That's me. That's me as a human. So I remember thinking, like, how the hell am I supposed to help anyone? So, starting about a year and a half ago, I started offering free info to literally anyone, anywhere who found anything useful in me. I was just like, hey, you want information? You want a place to stay? You want to learn how to travel? You want to learn how to be a performer? Let's talk. All I knew was I had plenty of room for growth, and, I could follow that path, or I could choose to sit in my own small world and stay small. Either are perfectly awesome and valid ways of living life. I'm not judging you. I just knew that for me, I didn't want to sit around. So I started giving out all that free content, right? And then the feedback started coming right back in. I realized my intensity is also one of my greatest strengths. I realized that this intensity best serves people who are going through intense highlighted moments. So my energy level basically just needed to match what my clients wanted to achieve. Few people can tolerate me in high doses. Shout out to the love of my life here, who always wants to spend more time with me. He's probably the first human being in my life who feels that way consistently. I love him so much. I'm basically like a shot of adrenaline. When you need me, you need me. So once I figured that out, I kind of tied it together with my 3 words, love, beauty, and pleasure. So I realized, oh my God, like, people need me during life moments that are like, freshly single, or freshly married, or freshly divorced, widowed, whatever relationship status, or being in any sort of transitory career stage, choosing to combat mental illness and make a big shift. Any of these kinds of moments, getting onto a burlesque stage for the first time, traveling solo for the first time, especially as a woman, figuring out which dreams to target first, or what order, or what would serve best. All of those kinds of things are what I'm really good at, because they're intense life moments, and I'm really intense, so I'm here to help you. Simply put, I do what I do because I know I want to help people through the use of rituals and high intensity life moments with as much grace as possible by utilizing the power of love, beauty, and pleasure. I use my podcast and my performances to showcase examples of this. I use my time showgirling on the Strip to personally connect with people during their special Las Vegas experiences. I use my newsletter and my social media to provide consistent motivation to follow up with my clients and take care of them through the passage of time, even if the services were already rendered and, time has gone by. I still want to be here for you, and I still want to make sure that you have a community to come back to. So that's why I put out all of this free content. It helped me figure out my why, but then on top of that, it helped keep bringing people in. Soon, brings me to my exciting little, schmip here. Soon I'll be launching an online coaching service. By soon, I mean like 2021, because I got to hustle this year to lay my foundation first. But that is the main goal. That is where my why ended up leading me. Now, of course, if I record this episode yearly, which I should, it's not going to look the same because things are always different. Every moment that you receive new information, you become a new person, and only crazy wouldn't adapt to that change, right? So please tell me about your experience with finding your why. Head down to the YouTube comments section and tell us about it. Please don't be shy. And if you don't want to say anything publicly, that's totally fine, but I do highly recommend that you just take 10 minutes to journal. Just do a word dump about why you do the things that you do. What do you like? And see if you can learn something new about yourself. After all, we are new people every single day. On a final note, if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, the Martian Gazette, I highly recommend it because it's a free weekly dose of love, beauty, and pleasure. For more information, check out the description if you're on YouTube and marinamars.com if you are tuning in from another streaming site. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Until next time, my loves, XOXO.